Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we got some brand new Civivi knives and Sencut knives. First we have the Civivi Mini Chicane. This one has black aluminum with a drop point blade, full flat grind. It's a very compact knife. I picked up this one because I didn't think Civivi was sending us the knives because they literally just showed up. And Civivi had sent this one out to me. Like I said, it's a very compact knife. My medium-sized hands, I can cram 4 fingers on it behind that flipper tab, but it's a pretty darn compact knife. Great in the pinch grip, very versatile blade shape because of that low tip. Satin finish on both of these. Excellent jimping, but it's not a long road jimping. Should have a decent bit of sharpening life here. Very fine tip for piercing. Smooth button lock on these. Great action. Love that texture milled into the aluminum that offers a perfect amount of grip. Have a reversible deep carry clip inset into the frame. Flow through construction. Very smooth button lock action. Your thumb studs stay out of the cutting path. Nice thin blade stock, thin grind. Super slicey nitro V steel. Next is the Civivi Void Flare. This one's a little bit bigger, and we'll talk about this one more in just a second. And last we have the Sencut Stratex. I call it a medium-sized knife. G10 scales, flipper, and thumb studs. Both of them work great. Good grippy jimping up top. Very versatile drop point. That's also going to be slicey because it's got good edge geometry. Ergos so far in my testing have been comfortable. I do wish they would have given us a little bit more sharpening choil, but you might have a couple of sharpenings before you might have to worry about that. 9CR 18 MOV stainless steel. Deep carry clip that is reversible. Not inset, but this is a budget knife. Flow through construction. Nice smooth action. So far, it's doing great in my testing. The Sencut Stratex and Civivi Mini Chicane review will be coming soon. So stay tuned for these two. And all new Sencut, Civivi, and WE knives will be linked down below in the description. So like I said earlier, this is the new Civivi Void Flare. And you can get this one in 4 different variations. They also have a version with copper acrylic scales and a black blade, kind of like this copper acrylic scale. They also have the silver acrylic with a satin blade, and this is kind of what the silver acrylic looks like. It's very, very attractive material. And I think the silver acrylic version with the satin blade is the one I would have personally bought if I would have bought one myself. You can also get the silver acrylic with a beautiful Damascus blade. They all look amazing. Like I said in the beginning, this is, in my opinion, a medium-sized EDC knife at 7.05 inches long with a 2.92-inch drop point blade. Mine has a black wash finish on it. You got a small row of effective jimping. Definitely grips the thumb very, very well. You could have brought it out a little bit further, but I'm not that concerned about jimping. You have a very, very needle-like tip there. That's going to be great for piercing and doing intricate detail work. So this could be a very versatile blade shape. Have a fuller on both sides that you can use to deploy the knife. We'll talk about that in a little bit later. There's a chamfer going along the spine right here, so you don't have any sharp areas where you don't want them to be. And your sharpening choil starts to thicken up about right here. I do wish they would have given us a little bit bigger of a sharpening choil. You should have maybe 3 sharpenings before you may start to run into this thicker plunge grind right here. So not terrible, but it definitely could have been better. There's a macro shot of that nice grippy jimping there and that needle-like tip. Your blade stock thickness on this one's coming in at 0.12 inches, and we have a hollow ground blade that comes down to around 18 thousandths behind the edge. So as long as it came sharp, it should perform great. We're going to find out. Well, I got to give props where props due. Both Civivis, the Void Flare and the Mini Chicane, along with the Sencut Stratex, all those knives came with a wicked sharp edge. And I'll be honest, you know, a lot of times when I get Civivis, they tend to over polish their edges. But here lately, it seems like they're getting better. Maybe they're realizing that. I don't know. But it came with an edge that had a fantastic bite to it, and this hollow grind, of course, got good edge geometry, even though it's not a very tall grind, is making short work of the cardboard, and absolutely no issues whatsoever. You got enough straight edge to make a decent run cut there before you'll slide out of the cut. Sorry, my dog wants to throw his 2 cents in on this, but yeah, so far so good. Now we're testing the ergos, starting out with light pressure. It's making curls rather easily, no issues whatsoever. Nice and locked in. The handle is a little narrow toward the butt end. And I'm starting to increase pressure a little bit more, and you're going to see me stop in just a second. And I'm gonna explain what's going on there, but it wanted to, yep, there you go. When I started putting a lot of pressure into the wood, I could feel that pocket clip because it's so low, because they had to put that stupid lanyard hole on the scales instead of putting a pin like they normally do. It was causing a hot spot, and only when I was really wearing down. But as you can see right now, you're going to see me swapping back and forth between the pointer finger grip and the regular grip. I personally can only do that when the knife is very, very sharp. And this is how I usually test how sharp the edge is when it comes to me, is cutting a piece of the sisal rope. Because if you got an over-polished edge, it may cut cardboard and it may cut some of these other things that you really don't have to bite into it to be able to cut it. But you're not going to cut half-inch sisal rope if you got an over-polished edge. It's going to want to slide off of it, and it's going to be absolutely miserable, and it literally makes me want to take the knife and go throw it in the woods behind my house. Not the case with this one, but I can't say that's been the case with every Civivi knife. Definitely had some that just barely made it through the testing. But I'm really kind of thinking about, from now on, if I get a knife that doesn't have a good enough edge to make my job, at least normal, it doesn't have to be easy, but I may not test those. So we'll see. Maybe the company will think about that before they send them in. But I don't want them to be hand picking them, so I'm not going to say anything to them. But this one did great. Well, I was definitely satisfied with the performance because this one came stupid sharp and it's got good geometry like pretty much every Civivi knife I've ever tested. Now, let's take a look at the deployment on this one. So you have the flipper tab with some jimping up top that you can do a light switch. It comes rocketing out. It is riding on cage ceramic bearings with a ceramic detent ball, giving it a nice quick action and a nice smooth action. You can load up and do a push button. I personally think the light switch is a little bit quicker and more comfortable. Like I said earlier, you have a fuller on both sides and it's not slick. I can easily reverse flick it. If you grab it at the bottom right there, you can slow roll it. You can grab it between the spine and do a drop down. And on this particular variation, they all perform great. Let's take a look at the handle areas. So you have black peel ply G10 with this milled out section down the middle for some flare there. And the texture on the G10 is perfect in my opinion. It's not overly aggressive, but it does offer some traction. You have a large chamfer going all the way around the scales, so you don't have any sharp spots where you don't want them to be. And as you can see, your stainless steel liners have been shadow boxed to the G10 scales, just mean they sit a little bit wider than the actual G10. They are rounded, so they're not sharp at all. And I'm not usually a fan of colored liners, something that Civivi used to do in the beginning whenever they first got started. But on this particular one, it's just a very, very minor amount showing. I think it's a nice little pop of color, but it definitely wouldn't have hurt my feelings if it wouldn't have been there at all. Your lanyard hole is in the back right here. Flow-through construction, 2 hourglass standoffs. I do wish they would have put this lanyard as a pin back here and brought the G10 scales all the way to the back. And I'll tell you why. When I was doing the ergo testing into the wood, immediately I could feel this ramp right here on the pocket clip and this portion of the pocket clip because the scales get narrow here. So you're squeezing the back tighter, and it wasn't as noticeable during light pressure. But whenever I started increasing, probably I'd say medium pressure, I started feeling it more and more. And it's because it's so low, almost to the bottom right here. I think if they would have made the G10 come all the way here and had a pin instead of this hole and made this pocket clip more in the middle, it might not have been that big of a deal. But just note, you have medium-sized hands, and you plan on using it hard or pushing into stuff hard, you may feel that pocket clip. Also, in this reverse pull grip right here, you can do it, but you will feel this portion of the flipper tab. It's not terrible, but once again, it was definitely noticeable. Pinch grip's really comfortable. I can get a lot of pressure down to that tip if need be. Versus gas station knife fight grip's comfortable as well, and you have that flipper tab to act as a guard so you don't slide up on that blade. Your milling pattern here is also on the reverse side. We have a tip up, deep carry pocket clip sitting a little bit past the scales. They did not inset that clip into the G10. However, they did countersink those screws, and I haven't had any issues getting hung up, and it pretty much disappears in the pocket. All you're gonna see is this very corner right here while it's in the pocket, which is something you wanna see if you plan on using a lanyard to be able to grab the knife out of the pocket, so that will sit above the seam of your pocket. It's hard for me to see that, but it looks like the centering's right down the middle. So as you flow through construction, you got tons of skeletonization on that show side liner, none on the lock side. However, it's still a featherweight at 2.9 ounces. Your balance point is a little bit back on that choil, but not enough to make it feel butt heavy. Still rather nimble in hand. The lockup on my knife is sitting around 40 to 50% or so. Access to the lock bar is just okay. I haven't found too many Civivi liner locks that thought they had great lock access because they put that texture on there. So it's not the most comfortable for me to use the tip of my thumb, but this portion, no problem whatsoever. And like I said, you still have some visibility there. It's not terrible, but it could always be a little bit better. The lockup, on my particular knife, there's no movement up or down, left or right, exactly what I want to see. Now for some quick size comparisons, it's dwarfed by the Ontario Rat Model 1, and it's even a little smaller than the Rat Model 2. And it's very similar in length to the Civivi Klingman and the Civivi Elementum 2-button lock. And it's also similar in length to the Kaiser Drop Bear and the QSP Penguin. And lastly, it's just a little shorter than the Vosti Porcupine, and it's very similar in length to the Miguron Talisman. And since no knife's perfect, what are my nitpicks and complaints? I think it would have been nice if they would have given us a little bit bigger of a sharpening choil. They could have extended this jimping out a little bit further if you could put jimping. A little bit more access would always be nice, and do away with the texture on the lock side if you do that. They didn't inset the clip, and to be nitpicky, it'd been great if they would have went with T8 screws all around. That way you don't have to swap drivers, and they're a lot less likely to strip out on you. And like I said before, it would have been great if they wouldn't have put this hole through the liner right here and just put a pin. That way they could have moved this clip to the center, and it could have possibly been more comfortable doing harder stuff. But all that said, what are my final thoughts on the new Civivi Void Flare? This knife right here in this configuration comes in at 64 bucks. I think it's an attractive looking knife. It's an easy one to carry, nice and lightweight. Of course, it's got great action no matter whether you're using the fuller or the flipper. It's a good performer, and the 14C 28N held up really well. Love to hear y'all thoughts on the gold liners. Is that something y'all like? Is it a deal breaker for you? Let me know that down in the comments. And if you're interested in picking up your own Civivi Void Flare, like I said in the very beginning, I will have it linked down below in the description along with any new release Civivi, Sencut, or Weed knives. And I hope every single one of y'all is having a remarkable day today. And remember, keep these blades sharp, smile more. Hey, sure.